Also see that the overlay isn't updated yet. still says the game from last run. There we go. We have started. So if you just joined, welcome to the Sands of Time. Prince of Persia, that is. 80% zipless. Oh, they updated it. Nice. It's a really cool run with a lot of movement tricks and glitches. And he's gonna do something here already. Oh, he failed it. You're not supposed to be able to reach that wall right away there. But you can if you do it like that. Wait, I'm watching the... Okay, hold on. There we go. I was watching the wrong thing, so I was a bit behind, I guess. Okay, yeah, so zipless is basically it bans the glitch that we call zipping. It's a really overpowered glitch that lets you fly through collision and cover huge distances. You can basically skip everything, but it's still a linear game, so kind of go through the game skipping everything, which is cool, but it overshadows all the other glitches that exist in this game. And that's kind of why we have this category, to use all of those other glitches, which are also really cool. So this run really shows off a variety of glitches and skips and stuff. Right now, Eraser is making his way to the Dagger of Time. And there he just did a little trick. It's like the first glitch of the game. He jumps in that corner of the fence, and then because there's that statue above, you basically get put a little bit further to the left than you normally would. Super minor, but really important to get. Did this game just freeze? That was weird. It froze for like a second, because I saw the timer still running. Anyway, so that's the Dagger of Time. The prince is collecting that as a trophy. See if he gets these jumps. Oh, pretty close. And we have a skip here called Dagger Time Early. You can use the environment here to reach the way you would normally end up after you get the dagger, but by doing that jump there, you can get high enough so you can go this way backwards, kind of. And all you have to do now is hit the trigger right there, and then it just goes back again. So you're basically getting the dagger from the exit, and that skips like a minute of platforming. But he doesn't actually have to pick it up, because there will be a cutscene if you do, which is slow. You just have to hit the trigger, and then this part loads where you get teleported to the next area, and then the game automatically gives you the dagger, because how could you not have picked it up, right? And that lady in red is called Farah. We'll be seeing a lot of her. sadly. She's kind of a pain in this game. She causes runs to die a lot. A lot of the time when we're skipping something, the game checks for Farah if she's around, and obviously Farah can't really keep up with you if you're doing glitches. And if she's too far behind, the game will crash. Which is really unfortunate. But anyway, right now he's doing some basic combat. If you've played this game, you might have felt that the combat is a bit awkward, but if you actually know the combat really well, then it's not that hard. Because there's a couple moves that are really good, and you kind of have to know the enemy type and what move is the best to use against them. And right there, he was just fighting basic enemies, which are the easiest. You just jump over them and then hit them and then stab them with the dagger to retrieve their sand immediately. Because in this game, to kill enemies, you have to retrieve the sand that possesses them. Basically, in the story, after he gets the Dagger of Time, he puts it in the hourglass, and that releases a virus, I guess, and it turns everyone into sand monsters. Alright, now he's actually trying to do a glitch, which is a really stupid strat. I don't know why he's going for it. Okay. Yeah, you can get on the fence there and wall run to skip some basic platforming. And he tried to do a glitch where you instantly turn around, which we'll be seeing a lot of later. But it's not really necessary there, because you can just turn around with a camera. Obviously it's faster, but you know, it's still a marathon. And this is the second guest room. It's gonna go across here, and then you can actually wall run down. Also skipping some platforming. It's pretty minor stuff at the early game, but still can be difficult to do everything really fast. Alright, and there's Farah. So if you're wondering why the prince and Farah aren't corrupted by the sand virus, it's because if you have what's the word called? If you have like a relic of time, I guess that's what it's called, then you are protected against the virus. And the prince has the Dagger of Time, and Farah has the Medallion of Time. I think that's what it's called, or the Amulet of Time. I don't know. The series is kind of switching between those names a lot. But yeah, that's why Farah isn't a sand monster at the moment. Yeah, I guess I'm calling it sand virus. I don't know what else it should be. But So a little bit ago he did like a torpedo attack to break furniture, which he failed. But now he's gonna do that same attack to land down on that doorway. Basically, if you do that specific attack, you're allowed to drop from a bit higher before you take fall damage, if that makes sense. If you were to jump there, you would just die from fall damage, but with that attack you can make it. And then he suicided on the pole because doing that skip, you skip loading triggers, and there's a checkpoint right there. So by dying, you can load the area that way. So here's the first person glitch, as we call it. It's the glitch where you instantly turn around, like I said earlier. And when you do it while you're holding on to something, you get a lot of momentum. So he's grabbing the box, and then, as you saw, he put it on the button. Then he kind of teleported out of reach of the button, which makes the door stay open. And now he's gonna do it to, I guess, teleport. It's not really a teleport, but I call it a teleport. He teleported to the middle of that room, and after this cutscene, is gonna use it to clip through the door, skipping the puzzle here. It's a really cool glitch that we kind of found by accident. It's done by grabbing a box and then going into first person mode with the camera, and then you slightly pull down on the control stick. Because I think the reason it works is because there's a mechanic in this game where you can walk instead of run by slightly pressing the stick instead of fully pressing it. I think that is what's causing the glitch, because it doesn't work on the keyboard. So he's gonna do it again. He's gonna set up the box in a very specific spot, then do the glitch, and he's gonna warp all the way. Oh, that's RIP actually. Yeah, this sometimes happens, where instead of you going through the door, the box gets through the door, and there's no way to fix it. You have to suicide. I hope he realizes that. There is a checkpoint here, which puts the box in front of the door, so you can just do it afterwards. Yeah, right there. So pretty unfortunate, but yeah, nothing you can do about it. So there he clipped through the door, skipping the puzzle, which is great because the puzzle's really boring. Oh, sand curse, yeah. That works too. I guess I don't really talk about the plot a lot. Usually, when I'm doing runs, everyone knows what's up, you know? So the first person glitch, where you instantly turn around, can also be used on ledges. And there it causes a very interesting effect. Because if you're only halfway on a ledge, like basically right there, his left foot was on it, but his right foot wasn't really on it anymore. And if you turn around at that point, 90 degrees, then the prince will be fully off of the ledge, but still in that ledge state. And that allows you to airwalk without having any collision. It was a really short example there, but we'll see it later on a couple times, I think. Oh, he's going to do it here as well. This is a great example here. So first he's going to turn around a bit so that he's halfway off of the ledge. Then he's going to flip around, and now we can freely walk without collision. So we can go through the door without opening it. It's kind of interesting how this works, because like a ledge like that just has 2 boundaries, and if you hit one of those boundaries, you just can't move further. But with that glitch, we break out of the boundary, and then we no longer have any boundaries, so we can just move anywhere. And luckily, the mechanic of the ledge walking doesn't check for collision, because why would it? It just has those 2 boundaries. And that's why you can walk through walls. So yeah, the sand aids has also turned our father, well, the prince's father, into a sand monster. So this is the dad fight. There's a bunch of enemies and our dad, which is the blue and white guy. But we have to kill all the other enemies first before we can kill our father, and then the fight's over. So for the red enemies, Eraser's doing the basic attack where you just jump over them and slash and stab them. But for the blue enemies, you have to do something different, because they have a different weapon, and if you try to jump over them, they just knock you off. So you can't do that. But what he is doing is called a power attack. And how you do that is after a combat thing, a combat movement. So after like a sword slash or something, you can do some steps on your control stick and then do another slash, and then the prince jumps in the air and does an attack, which instantly knocks them down, and then you can retrieve their sand. He is jumping over them sometimes. That it only works if you use slow-mo. So besides rewinding, there's also an ability you can use called slow-mo, or slow motion, or whatever, slow down. Pick which one you want. Yeah, and when you use that, the enemies can't block you. So you can just do the basic combat on every enemy, basically. And he also did it on the dad. Normally you would have to slash him 10 times, like jump over him, slash him, and then do that again 10 times. But if you use slow-mo, you can kill him instantly, which is great. And right there, he after he went into the save point, he just crashed the game, and now he's loading it, skipping 1.5 minute cutscene. Like normally after the save point, there's a really long cutscene, but you can just skip it. So here's the first instance of leaving Farah behind. But in this case, it's actually pretty decent. Farah just dies on a set timer, and all we have to do is hit the next checkpoint before she dies, which is really easy. So just turn the lever around, the door opens, and now we have a checkpoint. So now it's just waiting for Farah to die, and then when you restart, all is good. But I think that's the only place where she dies on a set timer. I'm not sure why that is, actually. But in most other places where we leave her behind, she just, she's just fighting enemies. And if they hit her too much, she can die. And if she dies, that's a game over. Also, she can be useful, I guess. Opening doors and stuff. And this area is really made for the two of you. Kind of how it works is, you know, you pull the lever and then Farah pulls the lever. And then you can access the next lever and so on. Doesn't really make sense if you think about it, but you know, great game design. Yeah, she is useful. But we still hate her. Especially Razor, the runner. Right now, he hates Farah with a passion. So this area is not all casual. There's three skips, I guess. The first one is right here, shortly. There's an enemy trigger on the next platform, but you can just jump around it. So the enemies don't spawn. It's gonna do that now. Well, he didn't jump, but it still worked. And then right here you can jump on the fence of the lower, well, it's not a staircase. What do you call this thing? Slope thing? Right there, you did it perfectly. You can only land on the fence, otherwise you die. And then Farah tries to follow you, but there's no platform for her, so she just falls to her death. Luckily, there's a checkpoint. Okay, so now what Eraser is doing is a rewind trick. And he did it. So a rewind trick is when you rewind to the same spot twice, and then the game kind of extends the action that you were doing. So right there he did a wall run, and then he rewinded to the same spot twice. And then he got like a way higher wall run afterwards, which allowed him to hit the button. Oh yeah, RAM. I like that. I like that version. Yeah. He also did a thing with the door. I don't know if you saw that, but there's a cutscene after the door, and if you let the door push you into the cutscene while being in first-person mode, then you can freely move in the cutscene, which is pretty funny, but it only works in that specific spot. And right now he's gonna attempt to skip. Oh. Rip. He's gonna attempt to skip the bird fight. When you go through the to this area, normally there would be birds that try to kill you. You would need to do that if you had to use Farah to open this door, but we're gonna clip through the door bird cage by using a box. And right there he did it. But there's still one enemy trying to kill Farah, so if he's unlucky, then she might die. But he still has one rewind, which is good. Usually if you rewind Farah's death, she will go out of combat, or like the enemies will de-aggro for a bit. So yeah, it should be fine, just more than half health. Should be fine. So we're actually just leaving Farah behind here. Normally you would need her for opening 2 doors for you, but we can clip through both of those doors. First one you already saw. The second one is in this room. Technically, you don't need to kill the scarabs, but they kind of mess you up when you're trying to do the next door clip. So it's really unsafe to not kill them. And yeah, when he did the birdcage clip, you may have noticed that he rewinded before he did the first person glitch. He's gonna do the same thing here, and what that does is after you do the first person glitch, the prince keeps holding on to the box. And when you do it in this spot, you can create distance between the prince and the box by just moving further when the box is stuck behind something. And then when you turn it around some more, the box can go through walls. Can't really explain properly why, but my theory is that the more space there is between the prince and the box, the more momentum the box gets. And obviously, or, well, not obviously, but when you give the box so much momentum, it can just go through walls. Which is great, because then we can use it to go through doors. And even though we left Farah behind through all of that, she is right here, somehow. Yeah, boxes are great. Really lowered the time when we found those glitches. Unlucky bird right there. You can skip the bird if you're fast enough, but if you're kind of slow, you have to let it attack you before you wall run. Not a huge deal. So now we're coming close to that baths. Has a couple different routes. Don't know which one we're gonna see here. I'm guessing the rewind trick. There's like you can either do the rewind trick, which is like the oldest strat, but then recently there was also a damage boost setup found, which is really cool. And another strat is where you do the ledge thingy where you can walk through walls, but nobody really does that because it's the slowest one. Yeah, okay, yeah, he's definitely going for the rewind trick because he's collecting sands. So the baths is a really big area. You have to do a lot of stuff in the next room, and then you can go back to this room, but there will be a box, and then you can reach the area that you weren't able to reach before. But we're going to reach that area early by doing a rewind trick in this corner, and then you can get high enough to reach the balcony. So he's gonna do a vertical wall run, and then rewind to the end twice, and then jump off. Okay, yeah. So the thing with rewind tricks is that they're pretty inconsistent. Like the game doesn't let you release rewind wherever you want. It kind of drags on to specific spots of the rewind, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't, but yeah, it doesn't let you like frame perfectly release. So it can be hard to control, but there you got it. It's very nice. So yeah, rewind to the end twice, and then you kind of get an extra bit of wall run height, and then you can reach the balcony. He also let Farah into the crack before he did all that, because if you don't do that, the game will probably crash, because she's too far behind. I'm just gonna do the first person glitch to instantly move the cupboard to the other side. Wow, nice jump. So this is the reason why you have to go through all that trouble to get up here. So you need the sword, which we call the second sword. Very intriguing name. And the second sword allows you to break walls. It's also it's a bit stronger technically, but using the fight mechanics that we do, you don't really notice any difference. So right there he went into that corner before he broke the wall, because there, if you stand in that corner, all the enemies de-aggro, and you can break the wall before they aggro on you. Oh, that was a cutscene skip right there. Yeah, you can break the wall before they aggro on you, because if you don't do that, the prince will just auto-target enemies, which makes it really hard to break the wall. We used to have a lot of trouble there, because it's kind of like RNG, if you can break the wall fast or not. But with that strat, it's really good. You can just do that and break it fast every time. Just gonna do a jump here. Nah, he failed it. And this room is actually where the first person glitch was found. The first person glitch is the box glitch that we were doing. Well, Eraser was doing, the box glitch where we go through doors and shit. That was found right here because, well, there is a box and you have to wait. So one runner was just messing around here, basically grabbing the box and spamming buttons on his controller, and suddenly the box turned like 45 degrees and everyone was like, what? What just happened? And for a while we didn't really know what or like how it happened, until the runner told me that he had bound first person first person camera mode to his left stick, like pressing the left stick on the controller. And then I figured out that it was caused by spamming first person mode and then a direction, which was kind of like the first way of doing that glitch. But it was really inconsistent because really unreliable. But we didn't really think much of it because we tried going through doors with it, but we never succeeded. So we just thought it was a useless glitch until, you know, me and Toka, who's doing the German commentary, we were doing a lot of races of this, and in that specific spot where it was found, we were also just messing around with it. And on one of the days, we were racing, Toka just clipped through the wall, and then then everything kind of snowballed from there. We figured you could clip with it. We found a lot of clips, and we found a way to do it consistently. So that was it's a really fun experience. Anyway, we're now in the mess hall, and we're gonna leave Farah behind once again. And right now she's just fighting enemies, so she could die, but it's already over after this door closes. You have to stay in the doorway when the door closes. Otherwise, Farah can still die if you just like move ahead before the door closes. It's like a weird trigger thing. But if you just stay in the doorway when it closes, it's fine. Okay, so here's gonna attempt drawbridge skip. You can jump around the drawbridge and there will still be collision, even if there's no even if the drawbridge isn't lowered. But at the end of it, there's an invisible wall, so he has to jump around, which he did perfectly by using another rewind trick. Again, the rewind trick is where you rewind to the same spot twice and then it extends your action. And right there he just jumped, then rewind it to the same spot like mid-jump twice. And then, if you're lucky, because it's not consistent, but if you're lucky then you get a really far jump. Okay, so here's another great example of the airwalk. Gonna grab this ledge in such a way that it's only half on it, and then he has to wait for the trap cycle. Oh, and yeah, that's ripped. Yeah. If you get hit, you fall down. Okay, there you got it. So yeah, you grab half onto it, and then turn 90 degrees, and then you're freed from the ledge. And now we can walk under the broken bridge, as it's called. There's actually like a death barrier a little bit above the prince right now, which is pretty funny. Like the ledge that we use is basically perfect height. But now what we gotta do is get back in bounds, and there's a lot of textures here, but not everything has collision. But luckily for us, there's just enough collision to get back in bounds. And yeah, that skips like over a minute of doing stuff with Farah, like basically what we did in Warehouse as well, where you pull the lever and then she pulls the lever and you pull the lever again, stuff like that. We skip that here, but because we skipped that, we also missed some triggers. So the solution is save and then die. And now everything's loaded and Farah's with us, so it's all good. Here's gonna attempt to skip by jumping on top of the rubble. And he's not making it. It's really precise, because game doesn't really want you to be on top of that. Okay, so now he made it, and now he has to drop down and grab that thing. Yeah, okay. That was good. I mean, it wasn't really worth it, because it only saves 10 seconds, but still cool to do the glitch, or to do the skip. And I guess the third iteration of the first person glitch, the first one being clipping with boxes, and the second one airwalking with ledges, then there's the next one, which is jumping off of fences at an angle, which is not as major as the other ones, but it's still useful. And here, first he hit a trigger there, then rewind it back. Now he's gonna angle himself on this fence, so he can jump straight ahead to the next platform right here. Yeah. It's perfect. Yeah, it might really sound minor, but can be useful in some places. We already did it earlier, but I didn't talk about it back then. But yeah, it's really cool how one glitch can cause so many effects. Okay, right there he jumped to the beam from far back, because there's a cutscene right there, which you can skip by jumping around. It's like a 20-second cutscene. Caves is pretty great though. There's a lot of these shortcuts that you can do, making the movement really cool to do. Like jumping early from spots. Just feels really good. So that's like the first half. And then in the second half, we're going to do some more airwalking. In a bit. So here's the spot. Just going to use the upper ledge to get a good position on the lower ledge, and then you can just walk off. But if you can see, like on the left of the screen right now, it's not really loaded. But there's a trigger out of bounds here, or well, it extends out of bounds, and he's gonna perfectly show it off. There you go. You can just walk into it and then proceed. And doing this also skips a cutscene. It's the main reason why it saves time. Wow. Nice glitch. Sometimes when you try to grab a ladder, he just falls down. It's pretty good. Yeah, the pose is pretty funny. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, it's trying to be sneaky about it. That's funny. It sucks that it's kind of slow. Like the speed of which you walk on a ledge is pretty slow. Okay, so here's gonna do it again. Like this glitch is so good. Gonna get half of the ledge, then yeah, get off of it again by turning 90 degrees, and now he's gonna go straight to the final rope of this room. Normally you have to do a bunch of stuff in this area, like really a lot of movement, and you know, there's a lot of traps, and there's bats and everything. But yeah, final rope right away. And then here, there's a new glitch that we haven't seen yet. Well, it isn't new, as in like recently found, but new as in you haven't seen it yet. It's called the zombie glitch. So at the top of that rope, there's a teleport trigger. And if you hit the teleport trigger, but then die before you actually teleport, you get in this glitched state where the prince is basically dead, but you can still just play the game. We call that zombie prince. And the use of it is that enemies don't aggro you at all. So that's really useful, because in this next area there's a lot of enemies and we're just trying to skip that fight by clipping out of it. And yeah, if they don't aggro you at all, that makes it really easy to do. And a secondary feature of this glitch is that it also doesn't activate spike traps. You know, those traps that pop out of the floor when you walk over them. But that's pretty minor. So the other thing with this is if you take damage at this moment, you will still die. So it's, you know, other games have zombie glitch as well. And in some, you're actually invulnerable to everything. But here, if you take damage, you're dead. So you still gotta avoid traps very carefully. Okay, so now we're in the harem fight, and we're going to use this statue to clip out of it. So we're not using a box this time, but it's still pretty much the same. So he has to get it over that little threshold thingy, which he did. And now he's going to put it in the perfect spot for the door. And he clipped through. I actually didn't... How did he... Okay, I've never seen it like that. Where he like clipped through the side of the wall, basically. So right now is the most tense moment of the run. Like when you're doing this at a marathon, this is where your heart gets pumping. Because right now you are not allowed to rewind. Yeah, you're not allowed to rewind because Farah is way behind. And for some reason, if you rewind, the game then suddenly checks for Farah and realizes that she's not there with you. And then you get a game over loop. So you can't make any mistakes. And then on top of that, we have to clip through this door, but also clip far enough that you don't hit a cutscene. Right after the door, there's a cutscene that usually shows the door closing. Okay, he didn't. That's good. So that cutscene shows the door closing, you know, when you play casually. But since the door is already closed, it never closes, which means that the cutscene never ends. So, yeah, that's a soft lock. But he did it, so that's good. But we're not out of the waters yet, because there's a fight here in which he can't die. Otherwise it's still a game over loop. It's not that hard, but you know, it's still there's still the weird stuff that can happen where you just suddenly die. Like if you try to jump over a blue enemy and you're near like a fence, then he might knock you off of the fence and you just fall to your death. So he's playing it pretty safe. He's just going to the corner and then doing a torpedo attack and then just retrieving them one by one, which is probably the best strat you can do here. It's not the fastest, but it's really safe. You just need to look out for damage. Like they can still hit you like that, which is really annoying. When you're trying to retrieve someone, they can just hit you. But yeah, I think only... Oh, nice double. I think only a couple left. Is this the last one? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the last enemy. Alright. So now we're good. No soft locks or game over loops. And now we hit a save to bring back Farah. Because she's still in the harem fight from like 2 minutes ago. And yeah, right now we're in the observatory. It's what this area is called, which has a puzzle, apparently. But we ain't got time for that. We're gonna skip that stuff. So for some reason, on this very pole, and only this one... Oh, why didn't that work? Normally, on this pole, if you do the first person glitch, this happens, where you're basically flying in the air next to the pole, and then you can jump to the pole and off of it to reach that scenery and walk to the lever, and that skips the whole puzzle. Don't know why it didn't work the first time, but doesn't matter. But yeah, that only works on that one pole in the game, and I have no idea why. But it's pretty good, because, you know, we can skip stuff. Actually, there's another way to skip this puzzle, but that involves rewinding. And we would like to keep all of our sands for later. Because usually, if you do the rewind method, you would end up getting a sand later from like a sand cloud or an enemy. And in that case, this method is faster if you do end up doing that. And here you can do... Okay, he's not going to do it. Damn it. This lever is pretty unique as well. Because there's this cutscene that you're watching right now, but actually the door can open before the cutscene activates if you release the lever kind of frame perfectly. which I always go for, but nobody else does. I think I actually got it at ESA 16. Me and Tokaloni1, the German restreamer right now, we did a race of this category at ESA. If you didn't know, yeah, I did the frame perfect door opening there. It was really cool. Yeah, well, it wasn't really that spectacular, the one-time glitch, but there's a pole where you can do the first-person glitch on, and it only works on that specific pole. But yeah, in this area he also did some skips. I don't really remember how you're supposed to do this casually. Because, you know, haven't done that in ages. And now he's gonna do a skip to get down quicker by getting on the fence and then jumping to the... Oh, barely missed it. Yeah, you have to release wall run at the specific moment and then jump off at the very end of the wall run. Alright, there you did it. Good stuff. Like, if you don't release wall run, you're still too high in your wall run. So if you do jump off, then you're just gonna die from fall damage if you try to jump to the, you know, the scenery thing that you jump to. So you gotta end your wall run early. Now he's looking for Farah to follow him. Farah can get stuck with it. I lost connection there. Rip. That was only a little bit though. Hope you didn't miss me too much. Alright. So we're entering prison now. Yeah, the camera is definitely wonky. There's a lot of, you know, learning that you have to do that involves the camera. There's like these camera, what do you call them? Camera cuts, I guess, where the camera just suddenly changes, and you have to be aware of that ahead of time so you can, you know, not hold the wrong direction. So right now we're in prison, which also has a skip. And it's pretty unique, so you know, if you're planning to go to the bathroom, don't go just yet. As you can see, there's these platforms that extract and then retrieve after a certain amount of time. And if you do a rewind trick at a specific moment where you were holding on to the thing while it was retrieving, well, something happens, and he's going to show that off here. So he's going to go to the very end of it, and then as it retrieves, the prince holds onto it, then falls down. And then when you rewind trick to that moment where he just fell down, the game thinks you were still holding onto it as it was in the wall, and you can clip inside the wall and then land on top of the door, because you still have to fall from pretty high. Oh, you just got back, nice. So yeah, that's really interesting skip right there. It was found by one runner called Kribben. He's from Sweden. And he was just messing around in the prison with those platforms, and he suddenly did a rewind trick when it was retrieving like that, and he clipped into the wall, and then we figured out that skip was really cool. Because before we were doing some really shitty stuff to skip it. Oh, and here you can see a damage boost. Talked about it a while ago, but there's actually a use of it. If you get damaged while you're jumping, you can get boosted by a little bit. And if you then activate slow-mo, or, well, if you already had it active at that moment, the boost becomes quite high, as you saw there. Which allowed the prince to, jump pretty high and skip some stuff. It doesn't really save, like, it saves, I think, 5 seconds, but it's 100% consistent and it looks really cool, so everyone does it. And right here is the last rewind trick of the game. There's this button that's just out of reach, but we got glitches, so it's not really out of reach. So yeah, basically skipping that area. There's another skip that is done in like the glitchless category, which we call no major glitches. But yeah, in that skip you do a really difficult wall run to reach a box that is up there somewhere, and then you can reach the button using the box. Alright, so now we're getting ready for elevator. If you've played this game, you probably had trouble on this fight, because it's pretty damn hard. There's a lot of enemies that spawn, and Farah is pretty vulnerable. But there's a technique that you can use where you point the camera away from Farah. So as long as Farah isn't on the camera yet, there's a pretty high chance that the enemies don't attack her. So that's what Razor's utilizing right now. And he's also doing a combat technique where you can jump over and instantly retrieve these hammer enemies. But you have to use slow-mo for that. And after a couple more of these enemies, he's going to be able to do something we haven't seen yet. A combat technique that is called Mega Freeze. You need full sands and full slow-mo tanks for that. Which is right now, I think? No, one more. It doesn't count if you stab them first with your dagger and then kill them. You have to retrieve them. Okay, so now we can use Mega Freeze, in which all the enemies like freeze, and you can kill them by slashing them twice. But the controls for it are pretty awkward sometimes. Sometimes you just get stuck. But that was decent, I guess. So now it's just finishing off the last few enemies. That was a pretty decent fight. There was actually recently found a way to skip the elevator entirely in this category, but we haven't quite figured it out how to do it, like at all, basically. There's one guy named Asco. He's done a lot of work for this game, a lot of glitch finding and skip finding for a lot of years now. And he was trying to make a video of proving that elevator skip in Zipless is not possible. And when he was trying to make that video, he actually got it. So I guess he, he proved himself wrong, which is funny. But it relies on some factors that we don't understand yet. So maybe in the future it will happen, but not yet. Yeah, it's really ironic. Wait, what did it show? I didn't see. Were you guys able to read what was on the paper? Dang. Think it might have been shoutouts to me. Maybe Toka as well. Oh well. Right, so now there's this cutscene which is really boring. It's like 2.5 minutes of looking at dust. Not sure what the developers were thinking here, but yeah. Before this, there was a cinematic that was skipped. I mean, you can just skip it without glitches. Wasn't like a skip, but you know. Anyway, there's that cinematic in which the prince is like at the hourglass, which is where you can fix everything that's happened. But then he's suddenly like, wait, why? I don't really remember, but he's like, why is Farah so nice? And suddenly he has like this crisis, and he doubts everything. So he doesn't end up fixing the world, and then the vizier shows up, which is the bad guy, and he creates this sand tornado stuff, and then we end up in the tomb. So that was that, and now we're trying to escape that tomb. By going down these infinite stairs. And this is called the magical puzzle. You're supposed to listen to like an audio effect of water to find Farah, and the effect only plays when you're near the correct doorway. Obviously, we already know which doorway to go because the puzzle is set. It's the same every time. And I think a lot of people struggled on this puzzle. They didn't really understand. that they had to follow the sound trail thing. I see a lot of people commenting that when I do runs. Kind of funny. I don't remember how I succeeded here in my first playthrough. It's a long time ago. And then in that cinematic, the prince gets in bath with Farah, which is pretty hot. But then he wakes up here and it's like, was it all a dream? And now Farah has taken the dagger and the prince's swords. Because Farah is trying to fix the world by herself, because the prince failed to do that earlier. But we did a glitch here where you can keep your swords if you pull out your swords before you enter that cutscene. You kind of stay in this state of having swords out, and you can break that wall without having a sword, so you can skip grabbing the last sword, as we call it. There's a puzzle right there. You have to move some mirrors, and then you can grab that sword, but we don't need it. Well, actually we do need it, but not right now. And the game gives it for free later, so yeah, easy skip. But since Farah also took the Dagger of Time, we can now no longer rewind, which is kind of interesting, because it makes things pretty stressful sometimes. There's still a lot of difficult platforming that we have to do, and there's also enemies, and there's bats later. All kinds of things that can kill you. Now you're only relying on checkpoints. So right now there's another example of jumping off at an angle. Oh, rip. Well, guess we can see it again. But there he was trying to jump off at an angle off of the fence. When you do it successfully, you can reach that balcony that you might have seen. You're supposed to go like all the way around above, but that's slow, so we can just go there early by going in spot and then setting up the glitch. Okay, now it's good. Yeah, I think he just had a wrong angle, or maybe something weird happened. But yeah, now we can go up. And he's gonna do... Wait, he's not gonna do it? Oh. Guess he's gonna do it here? Yeah. No, what? There's a... You can do the ledge thingy. Okay, he's gonna do it here. You can do it way earlier, but I guess here it's a bit safer. If you do it earlier, you have to deal with these bats for longer, but now you can just slash them twice. Alright, that was pretty decent. Yeah, so we used the ledge thing to go through the wall and then access that area early. And now he's gonna do another exclusive first-person glitch, where if you turn around on that ledge, or on that bar, you can actually grab the ledge that's inside the wall there. for some reason. Like the prince just turns to it, which is a pretty funny skip. Yeah, normally the wall breaks off before you jump to it, but now it's like, wait, what? How are you already here? I don't really know where the trigger is for that wall to break. Sometimes you can even do the skip without breaking the wall ever, which is kind of funny as well. Right, so now we're entering last fight. God, these names that we give these things are so stupid. Second sword, last fight. Good stuff. It's not technically the last fight, but it's the last significant fight. And this is where we get the final sword for free. This is also where Farah isn't doing so well. As you can see, Eraser is cheering right now because he hates Farah. And yeah, Farah's now dead. Rip in peace. Right, so the final sword lets you instantly kill enemies. You don't have to retrieve them anymore to kill them. You can just slash them and they vanish. So the main technique that is used is the torpedo attack, because it's unblockable. Then other than that, you can also do just normal slashes, which are blockable, but if the enemy is doing an attack, they can't block. So sometimes you can go for that. And then there's a third option, which is jumping off of the wall and then attacking, which is good for covering bigger distances if the enemy far away. I don't know if he's gonna do it at all. So right there, that would have reached the enemy. Now he missed it. Okay, well, the fight's already over, so. And now, at last, there will be a cinematic where the prince does finally fix the world. He is gonna put the dagger of time in the hourglass and then basically rewind time all the way to the beginning of the game. Kind of. And then he goes to Farah's room with the dagger of time, and he's like, yeah, the vizier's gonna betray you. He basically, I don't really remember, but like the vizier is, he kind of works for Farah and her dad, and then he sells them out to the prince and his dad for I don't know. But they go into war, kind of. And the prince is here trying to prevent that, because he's like, yeah, the vizier's gonna betray you. And then the vizier gets mad and you end up fighting. And this fight is really stupid, because all you do is just jump over him and attack him. And then do that a couple times, because he's spawning these clones of him. The reason why the Vizier wasn't affected by the sand curse is because he owns the Staff of Time. It's another sand relic. So now he's gonna Mega Freeze the last clone, and then, you know, knock the Vizier down. And then the Vizier says, he asks the prince if he has any final words, which is weird because we're killing him right now. Yeah, the Vizier is basically Jafar. And that's time. Pretty good run. Oh, I didn't show the final cutscene. Yeah, that was good stuff. Oh, I guess now he's gonna show off the zipping glitch. This is the glitch that is banned in this category. And he's gonna show off how you can skip this fight using the zipping glitch. So what you do is you do some movement thingies, and then you do a lot of small steps. And that accelerates those movements like by 20 times or something. So a jump becomes a jump that's 20 times higher. And using that specific moveset that he did, like a dagger attack and then a sword attack and then a jump, you can fly into the credits trigger, because while you're doing that glitch you don't have collision, and the trigger is right up there. It's like stored high up in the air there. It's really funny. So yeah, if you're wondering what is a zip, well, that is a zip, and you can probably tell why it's really overpowered. Like why it overshadows other glitches, because like why would you use anything else but that? Right, so yeah, that was Sands of Time Zipless. I hope you enjoyed. I did enjoy it very much. This was my first time doing like a commentary or like a restream, so yeah, it was fun. But I guess that will be all for me. Hope you enjoy your time watching the marathon. I'll be sticking around probably, hanging out in chat, and yeah, see you around.